In the 1980s and early 90s, Rick Moranis was one of the most familiar faces in Hollywood. He wasn't your typical leading man, but that's exactly what made him special. He was the charming underdog, the lovable nerd, the dad who accidentally shrunk his kids, and we couldn't get enough. From Ghostbusters to Spaceballs, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids to Little Giants. Rick Moranis starred in some of the most iconic family comedies of a generation. And then, he vanished. No scandals, no breakdown, no Hollywood implosion. He just walked away, right at the peak of his fame. Today, we're going to explore how Rick Moranis became a comedy legend, why he left Hollywood, and why his story may be one of the most inspiring in the entertainment industry. Rick Moranis was never your standard-issue Hollywood heartthrob. Born in Toronto in 1953, he began his career as a radio DJ under the name Rick Allen. But everything changed when he joined the Canadian sketch comedy show SCTV in the early 1980s. That's where Rick, alongside comedic partner Dave Thomas, created Bob and Doug McKenzie, two flannel-wearing, beer-loving Canadian brothers, who became a sensation. What started as a filler segment turned into a pop culture phenomenon, complete with a comedy album and a feature film, Strange Brew. Moranis' talent for blending dry humor with physical awkwardness caught the attention of Hollywood, and soon he was getting offers to bring that same energy to the big screen. Rick's breakout film role came in 1984 with Ghostbusters, where he played Louis Tully, the socially inept accountant who ends up possessed by a demonic dog. The part was originally intended for John Candy, but when he backed out, Rick stepped in and made the role his own, improvising much of his dialogue and stealing nearly every scene he was in. It was the beginning of a career defined by quirky brilliance. Though a slightly smaller role, he was in Ghostbusters 2 as well. He still brought that goofing charm and humorous lines. Who can forget when his character represented the Ghostbusters in court? From there, Rick went on a hot streak. In Little Shop of Horrors, 1986, he played Seymour, the gentle florist who feeds bodies to a talking plant. It was weird, dark, and somehow hilarious. And Moranis nailed the emotional core of the film. Then came Spaceballs in 1987, where he played Dark Helmet, a ridiculous parody of Darth Vader that remains one of the most quoted characters in spoof movie history. By this point, Rick Moranis had carved out a niche unlike anyone else. He was the king of the lovable loser, someone you rooted for, someone you trusted. But he wasn't done yet. In 1989, Rick starred in what would become his most iconic film, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. As Wayne Selinsky, a geeky inventor who accidentally shrinks his children to the size of ants, Rick delivered a performance that was funny, vulnerable, and deeply human. Memories. I always loved watching this movie as a kid. It made me feel like I was there, on an adventure with them, similar to The Goonies. The film was a massive hit, earning over $220 million at the box office, and becoming one of Disney's biggest live-action successes at the time. Rick reprised the role in Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, solidifying his place in the pantheon of family movie legends. He wasn't just a comedian, he was the on-screen dad of the era. His films had heart, humor, and just enough weird science to keep kids glued to the screen and parents smiling. In 1994, Rick took on another dad role in Little Giants, a movie that would become a cult classic for 90s kids. He played Danny O'Shea, the underdog brother of a legendary ex-football star, played by Ed O'Neill. The film centers on Danny's ragtag youth football team, Misfits and Rejects, who challenged the elite team coached by his arrogant brother. The beauty of Little Giants lies in how perfectly Rick Moranis embodied the role. He wasn't the macho sports guy. He was the emotional anchor. The guy who believed in the kids no one else did. He made us laugh, sure, but more than that, he made us care. The film tackled themes like self-worth, sibling rivalry, and perseverance in a way that felt authentic, largely because of Rick's grounded performance. To this day, Little Giants remains one of the most beloved sports comedies of its time. And that's no accident. Rick brought real heart to every line. Before we dive into why Rick Moranis walked away from all of this, take a second and hit that like button if you've ever laughed at Dark Helmet, rooted for the Little Giants, or got emotional watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Subscribe for more true stories of the legends behind the screen, and drop a comment with your favorite Rick Moranis line. Is it, "There's a giant ant in the backyard"? Or, "Nobody calls me a geek twice"? All right, now let's talk about why Rick left Hollywood behind and turned down over $10 million worth of roles. In 1991, tragedy struck when Rick Moranis' wife, Ann Belsky, passed away from breast cancer. She was just 35. The couple had 2 young children, and suddenly Rick found himself a single father. Rather than continue juggling his career with parenting, he made a quiet, then incredibly rare decision. He walked away. He didn't go on talk shows. He didn't make a dramatic exit. He just stopped showing up in films. He later revealed that the travel and long hours required in film made it too difficult to be the kind of father he wanted to be. So he took a break, and that break never really ended. Reports suggest he turned down over $10 million in offers during that time. Big budget films, sequels, and reboots. But he never looked back. In his own words, "I took a little bit of a break, and the little bit of a break turned into a longer break, and then I found that I really didn't miss it." For years, fans wondered if Rick would ever return to acting. Then in 2020, hope was restored. Rick appeared in a 30-second Mint Mobile commercial with Ryan Reynolds, and the internet went wild. It was the first time many people had seen him in decades, and it sparked speculation about a full-blown comeback. Shortly after, Disney announced a reboot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, titled simply Shrunk. Moranis was confirmed to reprise his role as Wayne Selinsky, and fans everywhere rejoiced. But as of 2024, that project has been delayed indefinitely. It remains in development, but no release date has been confirmed. For now, Rick's official return to the big screen is still just a hopeful possibility. Unfortunately, in 2021, Rick Moranis made headlines for a different reason. While walking near Central Park in New York City, he was randomly assaulted by a stranger in a completely unprovoked attack. The incident, caught on security camera, shocked fans and sparked a wave of support across the internet. Thankfully, Rick recovered, and the suspect was later arrested. The event served as a reminder that even the most beloved figures aren't immune to life's randomness, but also just how deeply Rick Moranis is respected and cared for by fans everywhere. Rick Moranis' legacy isn't just about his movies, it's about his choices. He showed that success isn't measured only by fame, awards, or box office numbers. Sometimes real success means knowing when to walk away. He prioritized his kids over a career that most actors would kill for, and in doing so, became a hero off-screen as well. Today, Rick Moranis remains one of the most beloved comedy actors of his generation. His performances still hold up, his movies still make us laugh, and his decision to put family first continues to inspire. He never needed to reinvent himself. He didn't have to chase the spotlight. He was, and still is, the real deal. Rick Moranis didn't fade away because he failed. He walked away because he succeeded in what mattered most. From Ghostbusters to Little Giants, he gave us characters that were hilarious, human, and heartfelt. But his greatest role wasn't in front of a camera. It was at home, being the father his children needed. Rick Moranis didn't disappear. He just chose something more important. Mel Brooks announced on June 13, 2025, that there is a Spaceballs 2 coming soon. Check it out on X. If this story brought back memories or gave you a new appreciation for one of Hollywood's most humble legends, hit that like button and share this video. For more stories about the stars who stepped off the stage to follow their hearts, make sure to subscribe, because sometimes walking away is what truly makes someone unforgettable.